please do uh, keep your camera turned off for us. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Liz Schaller. I am the NIMAC director, and I'm joined by Alexa Miller, our NIMAC librarian. And we're here this afternoon to talk you through your accessible media producer account with the NIMAC. Before we get started, Alexa is going to pop a link in the chat for our exit survey. If you could complete this survey at the end of our training this afternoon, that would be great. Your feedback is really helpful for us as we develop new trainings and modify existing trainings to make sure that they're serving your needs. And it's a quick survey too. Just it'll take you less than a minute to complete. We really appreciate it. And with that, I'll go ahead and get started. This webinar today happens in two parts. The first part, I'll walk through a PowerPoint. Alexa and I will kind of go back and forth. We'll talk you through kind of some basics of the NIMAC, how the NIMAC works, how it was started, how to get files assigned to you, and then also the system features, how you work in the system as an accessible media producer. And then once we walk through the PowerPoint portion, then we're going to switch to a demo section where I'm going to show you how to accomplish a lot of the things that we talk about in the PowerPoint. Today's presentation is being recorded and it will be archived on our website along with the slides. So you will have both of those resources going forward. Our main learning objectives today for you, again, this training specifically is really focused on working in the NIMAC system, obtaining NIMAS files, less about how you actually work with NIMAS files to produce accessible formats. So the two key learning objectives today are understanding how to download NIMAS files from the system, and then learning how to use the NIMAC Watchlist service. I think some of the folks here today have utilized the Watchlist service in the past, but I don't think all of you have. So hopefully this will be good information for you. So let's get going on just kind of some foundational information about the NIMAC. The NIMAC, or National Instructional Materials Access Center, was created by IDEA 2004, and we serve as the national source file repository for K through 12 textbooks and other instructional materials. We receive files in the NIMAS format, the National Instructional Materials Accessibility Standard, S for standard, C for center. That's how you can keep those two acronyms apart. We receive those files from publishers, and they're used to produce accessible formats for K through 12 students. NIMAS is the only file format that we receive from publishers, and we'll talk a little bit more about that file format here in a minute. To date, we have received over 90,000 file sets from over 200 educational publishers. And we're happy to say that all 50 states, as well as the 6 outlying areas in the Department of Defense, all work with the NIMAC. So what is NIMAS? NIMAS is an XML-based source file format. It is a unique file format that can be used to produce a range of accessible formats for our end users, including Braille, DAISY, EPUB, and large print. NIMAS files are not intended for distribution directly to students. And if you've ever downloaded a NIMAS file and looked at it, you'll understand why. It is an XML file. It is written in code that contains the text of the material. And then that zipped file also includes all of the images of the material. But those two things are not super usable for a student until they're converted into an accessible format. One thing that's important to know about NIMAS is that it's not a byproduct of traditional production process or publication process. It can take up to 6 weeks or more for NIMAS to be produced. Under IDEA, the only mechanism to actually require NIMAS from a publisher is the book adoption contract or purchase agreement. So there's no blanket requirement for publishers to submit files to the NIMAC. Instead, states and districts have been able to require NIMAS when they purchase new instructional materials since 2006. So ideally, when NIMAS is included in those contracts, a file will already be available when a need for an accessible format has been identified. The NIMAC receives a pretty wide range of student-facing instructional materials. These include textbooks and workbooks, lots of supplementary readers and reading curricula, as well as some ancillary materials like Blackline Masters. Teachers' editions are generally exempt from the NIMAC, and I will say um, that it's a little bit of a gray area because we can receive the student-facing pages of teachers and teacher materials. So sometimes you might see a teacher's edition in the NIMAC, but the only content that will be included in that file are pages that would be handed directly to a student. We also don't receive files for materials that are pre-2006 or trade books, again, unless they're tied directly to a curriculum. And that can get a little bit hairy sometimes, but if you have any questions about that, we're happy to try to help sort that out. As well as college textbooks and reference books as well. And we can accept NIMAS files for some digital instructional materials. It's a pretty small subset of digital instructional materials that can be produced in the NIMAS format. Typically, things that just have static text and images that kind of follow the structure of a book. So kind of, your PDF files or your EPUB files. So that's, games and kind of interactive things that kids are using today in the classroom. Those are not things that could be provided to the NIMAC. What's an authorized user? So, an authorized user of the NIMAC is someone who has been designated by their state coordinator to have an account that provides them full access to the NIMAC repository. They can search and download any file or assign any file to a registered accessible media producer. Authorized users are generally from within the educational structure of the state, such as from an IRC or State Department of Education. In some states, we do see an authorized user at a district, typically like a large district, but for the most part, they're from that SCA level. Alternatively, the AMP account allows the user to download files that have been assigned to them by an authorized user. So AMPs only have access to download files that have been assigned to them. These accounts are freely available to any organization or individual who can work with NIMAS to produce accessible formats. So there are restrictions that you would be part of, like an SCA or an LEA. And these users don't have to be designated by a state coordinator. But again, there is that more limited access to downloading files. If you do need direct access to download files from the system, it may be appropriate for you to be designated as an authorized user for a given state. To become an authorized user, you do need to be part of that educational structure of the state or a nonprofit like the American Printing House for the Blind or Bookshare that qualifies as an authorized entity under the Chafee Amendment. If you have any questions about that or want more information, please feel free to reach out to us and we'd be happy to discuss. And one side note I did want to mention is the AMP information that we have in the NIMAC is not public. Only the authorized users logged into the NIMAC system can view the information about AMPs. If you're interested in sharing your information publicly about the services that you offer, we invite you to participate in the Accessible Media Producers Directory that is part of the LUI database website and is hosted by the American Printing House for the Blind. It's a searchable online directory, and again, it's a free service of APH, so it is separate from the NIMAC, but it's a good opportunity for you to have that public listing of your information. If you are interested in that, please reach out to resource@aph.org for more information. With that, I'll pause here and see if anyone has any questions. Okay, I'm not seeing any, so Alexa, you can take it away.
Right, great. Thanks, Liz. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexa Miller. I am the NIMAC librarian, and we are going to delve into NIMAS file assignment. So, as AMPS, once you've been assigned a file from an authorized user, any authorized user in any state can assign you a file for downloading. If you are working on a project for a state and need help locating an authorized user in that state, maybe it's a state you haven't worked with before, you can just let us know. Feel free to reach out at nimac@aph.org, and we can put you in contact with those authorized users. And so when you've been assigned a file by an authorized user, you will receive an email notification. That email notification will let you know what item has been assigned, the accessible format that the authorized user has requested, and which authorized user made the assignment. And so here's just a screenshot of that email notification. You can see that it's addressed to you and that title and ISBN information and the authorized user's contact information down in the bottom there. And so sometimes these emails may not make it to you. Sometimes we have trouble receiving your emails. Just spam and junk filters are becoming more and more powerful these days, aren't they? So you may want to add the no reply -NIMAC at overdrive.com to try and ensure that you receive these emails. Um, you may also, if you're at a district, you might need to talk to someone in your IT department to see about um, just seeing if they can let these system emails through to you. And if you have a lot of trouble, sometimes that happens, you can feel free to reach out to us again at nimac@aph.org. And so format capabilities for AMPs, there are a lot of options. You select these when you first register with us. This information is provided as a convenience for AMPs and authorized users who are assigning you all files. If the format selected by the authorized user is not correct, but the file was or the file assignment was intentional, you can still download that file and produce the needed format. You can produce it in any format that is needed. A lot of AMPs provide multiple formats, so large print, Braille, whatever. That's perfectly fine. But if you do receive a file assignment by mistake, that authorized user, you should let them know and they should log in and remove the file assignment. You can update your format capabilities. We do recommend that folks review those once a year and go in. You can go into user information and my account to review those. And they should be updated to reflect changes in what you produce. And here is just a list of our current format capabilities. You can see audio and DAISY options, digital Braille, embossed Braille, large print, PDF, all those. And here is just a screenshot of where those appear in your account. So did we have any other questions? Liz will go into a little bit more depth when we do the demo here in a little bit.
Thanks, Alexa. I did see one question in the chat about possibly a broken link. So, Alexa, if you can take a look at that and see what's going on, if it's just a glitch with the web page. If not, we'll get you the updated link if so. So I want to talk a little bit for a moment about our NIMAC case study that we on in 2025. And some of you may have participated in it. If so, we really appreciate it. We worked with our external evaluator, True North Evaluation, on a case study around timely delivery of accessible formats. Our data collection for the case study focused primarily on three states, Ohio, Oregon, and Utah, though we did have some surveys and focus groups that targeted a wider national audience as well. Our case study sought to address two key questions. One, what are the positive benefits to timely delivery of newly created accessible instructional materials when NIMAS files for the materials are already in the NIMAC system? And two, what practices, including procurement contracts, facilitate the timely delivery of accessible instructional materials? So these are both things that are very interesting to the NIMAC, and the NIMAC's overarching goal is to support timely delivery of accessible instructional materials. But unfortunately, the NIMAC is relatively removed from that final delivery of the accessible format to the student. So we were really hoping that we could kind of dive a little deeper into those topics and get some information from those states. Our case study report, the full report, is available now on our website, and you're more than welcome to peruse it as well as to share it with colleagues. We have a PDF version and an accessible Word version. It is pretty lengthy. I think it runs well over 100 pages, and we will be developing a more condensed version of that with some key takeaways that we'll share out with you as well. Uh, there is an executive summary at the beginning of the case study report and kind of a list of recommendations at the end, so you can kind of hop around if you want. But the report itself is quite long. And we are utilizing that feedback already and some of those recommendations to improve our technical assistance efforts, and we will continue to do so going forward. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions about the case study or if you have any suggestions for implementing some of the recommendations that are in the case study. We would love to hear from you about that too. With that, I'll jump into another section. This is the only piece of our presentation today where we're going to talk more about actually working with NIMAS files, and I'm going to highlight some resources for you. The first of which is that back in 2022, we offered two training series, one in Duxbury and one in Braille 2000, going through a textbook conversion from start to finish, utilizing each tool. And we're going to redo those sessions again this summer. So they'll be a six-part webinar series, and the Duxbury sessions get going May 28th, while the Braille 2000 sessions get going on June 16th, and then there'll be one session a week for 6 weeks. They'll be focused again on workflows for NIMAS, both in Duxbury and in this case utilizing NimPro, or with Braille 2000 and utilizing Braille Blaster. We will archive both of those series on our website and make them available to you in the future as well. But we really encourage you to attend and also to share this out with your colleagues who might be interested as well. Another exciting thing I want to highlight is something that we offered back in the fall. It was a training in conjunction with Ocali's AT and AIM Center around the large print templates and macros for Word that they developed. And these are a great tool for converting NIMAS files to large print more easily. We know there aren't currently a whole lot of workflows to do that in a simple and easy way. And these really are that. So if you click on the link here, I think Alexa put it in the chat, you'll be able to see the training as well as all of those linked resources. There are instructions for how to download and quote unquote install the templates and macros on your computer, and then a really, really thorough and in-depth user guide that can help you get started on that. We also encourage you to reach out to Akali if you have any questions about getting started with the process. I also wanted to mention that the NIMAC did work with the DAISY Consortium on a free EPUB conversion tool. This free tool, we have a link to it, allows you to just quickly convert NIMAS files to EPUB that can then be used in your student's preferred EPUB reader. When you go in to convert the file, you just have to make a few selections. It might seem a little intimidating at first, but it's actually quite easy. When you go into the DAISY pipeline, you'll want to select the DT book to EPUB script, and then you'll want to select the NIMAS XML file that you're looking to convert. And then on the next page, you'll want to ask that it not validate. So select no validation, check that you have NIMAS input for your conversion, and then go ahead and run it. The conversions can take, it really depends on the length of the file. Some of them just a couple minutes, but sometimes I've had them take several minutes depending on the file size and the images and all of that. But nothing I mean, definitely less than 10 minutes, I would say. And we do have a brief how-to video that demonstrates this process and walks you through all of those steps if you're interested. And please do reach out, both if you have any questions about it, any challenges, or any feedback on your experience. And then finally, I also wanted to highlight the NIMAC has two Braille software user groups that meet quarterly virtual meetings on just a little subtopic of working with NIMAS in each software. And these are a lot of fun. They're led by experienced Braille transcribers, and we send these invites out to all of our amps every time that we have a meeting coming up. I think we have a Braille 2000 meeting coming up in May and a Duxbury one in June. So they are coming up again quickly, but they're a really good opportunity to meet other transcribers, to learn from each other, and to have some good conversation. So I really encourage you to attend. With that, I'll pause here again. That was a lot of information. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. I will go ahead and hand it over to Alexa then.
All right, great. So we are going to get into system features and services. And the first one we're going to talk about is the Watchlist service. I see a couple of my regular users on here. So if you are unfamiliar with the Watchlist service, it is the service that the NIMAC offers, and it is where you can add an ISBN that you need if it's not already in the NIMAC. If it is already in the NIMAC, it won't let you add it. But if it isn't, you can add it and we can research it and let you know, if it's within scope, we can reach out to the publisher. If it's not within scope, we can see what other accessibility alternatives are out there for you. And you will also, if you are able to add it to the watch list, and I or somebody on the team let you know that we are expecting that file, you will receive an automated email to let you know that the file is available. MathML and NIMAS. You may be unfamiliar with MathML, but it is an optional XML markup for math and scientific notation. The main benefit of MathML is that when software supports it, sometimes it doesn't, but when it does, it can be used to automatically generate Braille or other formats. In the past, math was often provided in NIMAS as images, which cannot automatically be converted into Braille. Um, So I mentioned earlier that MathML sometimes doesn't work with different softwares. We're finding that, more softwares are making efforts to support it, but sometimes you might still have an issue, and that's where our no MathML download will come into play. So we will show you that option during the demo, but we're going to take a little bit of a look here, just a little peek here in a second. But so you might be wondering if all NIMAS files include MathML. That answer is going to be no. The NIMAC system will only show a no MathML download option if MathML is present in the file. There is one easy way to know whether a file contains MathML, and that's that little sneak peek of the no MathML download option. You can see it highlighted there in red. The other two ways you will know if MathML is present in the file is it'll show down here in the system record where it says MathML in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see this one. It's really small for me, guys. I can't tell if that's MathML 3.0 or 2.0, but it's one of those. If the file doesn't contain MathML, that'll just be left blank. The other way you can see if a file contains MathML is in the XML file. You can see here, this is just a little snippet. but it shows MathML in the declaration here. And so this is just a screenshot of our homepage. You can see the login button and search the NIMAC up here in the right-hand corner. And the NIMAC logo over here on the left will always take you home. So does anybody have any questions about the Watchlist service or MathML before we move to the demo? Or anything else? We're not just open to those questions. I'm not seeing anything in the chat.
Great. Well, if no one has any questions, I will go ahead and hop over into the demo portion. I'm going to walk you through your whole account. So we'll show you your account information, how you can access publisher contact information, the reports that you have access to, and then I'll show you how to add items to your watch list, how to download files, as well as how to search for new materials. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to switch over to my browser. All right. So as Alexa just showed you, we actually had a little bit of a website refresh last year. It doesn't look super duper different, but one of the main differences is that we now have this expanding menu over at the top right, those three bars. And when you click on that, at the very, very top, you'll have a search field. Our informational website did not used to be searchable, but now we have a search function. It's not, you know, the end all be all, but it will get you to the information that you need. And then here you'll also see an expanded menu with all of your options. If we scroll down a little bit here, you'll see for accessible media producers, we have some frequently asked questions, some information about working in the NIMAC system. So that's where this particular webinar will be archived. And then we have some information about resources for working with NIMAS files. Be able to find all of that there. Um, this search box at the top, search the NIMAC, that is actually for searching the repository, not for searching the informational site. So both of these blue buttons at the top here are going to take you over to the Overdrive inventory site, which we will do now. And this is the screen you'll see that your landing page for logging in. One thing I do want to note, your NIMAC username is not your email address. I would say this kind of a frequently asked question or misconception for folks. You do have a specific username for the NIMAC that will end in .amp.admin. And if you happen to misplace your credentials, just reach out to us. We're happy to provide them to you. We can reset your password for you, no problem. I'm gonna hit that login button here and take you to your landing page. Your landing page as an accessible media producer will be your title assignments page. So this will show the files that have already been assigned to you. Before we get into that though, I want to start by showing you your account information. So in the top right, you'll see a user information option with two drop downs, and we're going to my account. On the left side, you'll see your personal information, your name, title, email address, contact info. On the right, you'll see your organization information. So if you work for an organization rather than being an independent transcriber, you'll have different information there for your organization. And then below that, you'll see your format capabilities, like Alexa mentioned earlier. Your format capabilities are important. They are used for your file assignments, but I do want to note that you aren't limited to producing just the format that's listed in your file assignment. Especially, sometimes you're producing multiple formats from a single NIMAS file. That's perfectly fine. It's just a function of the system that your authorized user has to select one format capability when they assign you a file. Your capabilities are something that you can edit yourself. So at the very bottom of this list, you'll see a button for updating. And when we go to this list here, you'll see everything that's selected is highlighted, unselected is not highlighted. So say I want to add in these embossed braille options. I'm going to hit Control, and then I'm going to click on the items that I want added to my format capabilities. And then I'm going to hit Save Changes. And then you'll see those show up here. Your account information, your contact information and such is not editable by you. It is something that we edit ourselves. So if you need an update to that, just reach out to us via email and we're happy to update that information for you. The other thing I want to show you under user information is your sub-users. AMP accounts can have sub-users that have full access to all of the files that have been assigned to you. This can be really helpful. Some districts actually have a single account and then multiple accessible media producers within that district, or also teams. Like if you work for an agency, you can have multiple people sharing the same AMP account. It's quick and easy to add a sub user to your account. You just click Add User button on the side, and then all you have to do is add their name. I'll go ahead and add myself here, and then email address, and then click Save Changes. And then they'll have their own unique login ID and password for your account. The next thing I want to show you is publisher contact information. This may not be something that you ever need, but I just want to make sure you know that it's here in the system. Um, we know that there are times when you maybe have a different printing of a material than the file that's available in the NIMAC. Sometimes these things can be rectified, sometimes they can't. But maybe you can get a PDF or something. You are welcome to reach out to the publisher, contact the administrative contact that we have on file here yourself. If you don't want to do that or you're not comfortable doing that, you can also reach out to us. We have great established relationships with all of these folks, and we're happy to kind of be an intermediary there. I just want to make sure that you know that you do have access to this contact information if you need it. We do find, because we work with publishers quite often, that it can be challenging when all you can find on a publisher's website is a general contact form or contact page. And sometimes you'll get a response, sometimes you won't. So this is at least a person that you can reach out to at that publisher if you need it. And then finally, I want to show you here up here in this bar your reports. So you do have access to your download activity that can be exported as a CSV file. Your report can be sorted either by your total downloads or unique by title, and you can select any date parameters you want. Say you want to see what you downloaded for the last school year or a certain shorter span of time than that or longer, you're welcome to. And then you can sort by maybe the content type if you produce multiple accessible formats, or day or month if you'd prefer. And then you just hit that button at the bottom, export report to CSV. This is a really helpful thing. You know, we export, we have access to many administrative reports, and I think sometimes it can be just easier to utilize that CSV file to quickly search it, to quickly sort it, than looking at information within the system itself. So I do recommend utilizing that Excel spreadsheet. Next, I'm going to show you how to add an item to your watch list. Alexa talked about the watch list. She is the one that fields most of your watch list requests for you. So if you have submitted something in the past, you've probably talked to her. This is, again, a great feature when you have an ISBN and maybe it's a kit or bundle ISBN and you aren't sure what the actual print ISBN is, or maybe you have a request for a state edition of material and you're wondering, hey, is the national edition that's already in the NIMAC maybe classroom compatible? Can you guys look into that for us? Or, this is brand new material. The NIMAC definitely doesn't have it yet, but we need it. So all you have to do to submit a request is to enter your ISBN. You can enter either the 10 or 13-digit ISBN. And then if you want, you can use the memo field. Ideally, the title, publisher, and copyright date are really helpful information for us. We can't always find good information through just a Google search of the ISBN these days, or doing a little bit more digging than that even. So this information is super helpful. Some people also like to put the needed accessible format here as well. That's definitely not required, but occasionally when we're having to reach out to a new publisher that we don't have a relationship with already, it's helpful to give them some additional information. So if we can say to them, we know a student in X state needs large print or in Y state needs Braille. Just having that additional context can be really helpful. So you're welcome to include that in the memo field as well. And then hit create. And you'll see a little message pop up that says successfully created new watch list item. And as Alexa said, uh, we take your watch list requests, we research them, we will get back to you within 1 to 2 business days, depending on when you submitted your request. And we may need to ask you for more information, or we may be able to say to you immediately, we can't get that, or the publisher's already working on it, best case scenario, or maybe we already have something, a classroom compatible edition in the system that you can get started with right away. But whatever the case may be, we'll get back to you quickly and we will stay in communication with you throughout the whole request process. Okay. Next, we're going to switch gears and look at title assignments. So back to that kind of initial page that you land on when you first log into your AMP account. Your title assignments can be split into two queues if you like to work that way, an active queue and then a completed queue for anything that you're finished working with. So some people like to kind of sort things. And if you do, you can just check the box to the far left of the particular material that you're done working with and hit that move to completed button, and it will take you over to your completed queue. In your active queue, this is how you'll download files. You can download files one by one if that's appropriate, or you can download everything in your active queue if that makes sense to you by clicking the arrow that's at the very top left here. But if you don't want to select all and you just want to select one file, you can go up here to the button that says Add to my downloads. It will tell you to the side how many files you have selected to download. And then you click Add to my downloads. And this screen is the one that Alexa showed you earlier when we're talking about the no MathML download. So you have this option in the system where the system will strip the MathML tagging from the file and instead will provide you all of the images of those math expressions. So if you prefer to work with the images, if that makes more sense for your workflow, you can select the full download no MathML, including images instead. Or if you would like to have that math tagging, then you can select the full download. Your third option here is the XML download. This is if all you need is the file. You don't need any images. Maybe you're just working on Braille, but no graphics whatsoever. You can do this XML download. It's a lot smaller and a lot quicker. So sometimes people like that because it's as you can imagine, the images are usually the bulk of the size of an NIMAS file. So select the download type that you want, and then below that you'll see the limitation of use agreement. This is the agreement that you signed when you came on board as an accessible media producer, and you have to agree to it every time you download a file. So you can review it if you want to, refamiliarize yourself with it, and then at the bottom of the screen here, you will click I agree that my agency will abide by the limitation of use agreement. And now here at the top, you'll see that your download request has been submitted and your request is now being processed. So you can come over and the top right, you'll see your My Downloads page and you can select that and that'll take you over to your download queue. This is where you'll be able to see everything that you've downloaded. And the right column here with that's labeled Actions is where you'll see the download button pop up once that download has processed. Right now, this download says pending, and depending on the size of the file, it can take maybe up to a minute to process. I refreshed my screen at the top left, and now it's switched to processing. So one of the things that happens for every download of a NIMAS file is that that file is fingerprinted and watermarked to your account. So it is able to be associated with you as an individual when you download that file. So the fingerprinting and watermarking is part of what's happening here when the file is processing. Well, let's refresh again, and there we go. Now it is available to download. You also have the option to delete items from your download queue if you want to just keep it nice and tidy. I will confess to not being great about that myself, but you are more than welcome to keep your download queue tidy if you'd like to. And then the other button I wanted to show you here is your file quality feedback button. We've had this in the system for a few years now, but I want to make sure that everyone knows about it and can take advantage of it. So say you download the file and maybe you're producing large print and the image quality is just not acceptable for enlarging. It's just not going to work. And you're hoping that maybe we can get a new set of images from the publisher. You'll go ahead and hit that file quality feedback button, and it takes you to a fillable form. The form is already populated with all of the information about the file in question, including the download type, because that can sometimes affect the feedback, particularly when we're talking about math files and whether or not you're utilizing the MathML or no MathML version of that math file. So that automatically populates. You don't have to worry about that. Down here, you have a required field for feedback. So that's where you tell us what is the problem. Is this file missing content? Like I said, are the images poor quality? What's going on? So you put that here. That's required. We also ask that you select the format that you're producing. This can help inform us as well of what may be needed in the situation. Another required field is the conversion software. We do need to know what software you're trying to open the NIMAS file with or work with the file in. One of those two things. So please tell us what your conversion software is. And then finally, if this is definitely an optional field, but if the situation that you're encountering is missing content or content that's differs quite a bit from the print copy that you're looking at. If you can tell us the printing number, which you can find on the copyright page of the book, of the print book that you're working with, we may be able to reach out to the publisher and see if it's possible to get a PDF or some other file that matches the printing that you're working with. Once you've got that filled out, you just hit submit at the bottom here, and we will get back to you within a business day and start troubleshooting that for you. Okay. Like I'm moving through things quite quickly. The last thing I want to show, and then I'll open it up for questions, is how to search in the NIMAC. So the search is present, it's omnipresent. Every page that you're on in the NIMAC, you have the option to search at the top. We recommend that you search by the unhyphenated ISBN. That 13-digit ISBN will be the best search that you can do. But if you are in a situation where you're working with a program, you're looking for multiple books in a series, you can search by quoted phrase search as well. So I'll demonstrate that for you. Let's search for STEM Scopes K-12 Science and see what we find. Okay. You are able to search the NIMAC inventory whether or not you're logged in. It doesn't really matter. The NIMAC is a public search. But again, you'll only be able to download files that have already been assigned to you. So if none of the files that you search for have already been assigned to you, you won't have any option to download show up here on the screen. But if they have been assigned to you, then you'll have a button here that allows you to download straight from the screen. You'll see that we have 145 search results here. You can sort these search results alphabetically by title. You can do, most or least recent, and you can export your search results at any time. This is another place where exporting is super helpful. We do it all of the time when we're looking at search results. It's incredibly useful to just be able to quickly look through that Excel file. You're also able to use the filters on the side of your screen. So say you know that you need this program and maybe you are looking at a particular edition. Maybe we're in Tennessee and we're looking at Tennessee STEM scopes in particular. And then maybe we know our copyright year, 2025. So now we've narrowed it down. Maybe we know also that we're working in a particular grade level, or maybe we need all of the grade levels. Now you have your short list. And the other thing that's helpful about your export here is that you can export that list of titles and ISBNs and you can use that to send it to an authorized user to request that those files be assigned to you. There is no functionality within the NIMAC system itself to request file assignment, so you do have to email your authorized user for that. But this is a great option for you to quickly pull that metadata and send it to the authorized user. With that, I'll go ahead and pause and kind of open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions about working in the NIMAC system?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Says, hi.
Hi.
Hi. How many times can you download the files? Is there a limit?
There is no limit. No.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
Thank you.
download them as many times as you need. Yeah, say you maybe you downloaded the version with MathML and you also want the no MathML. You can do both. Yeah, there's no limit at all.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions? And yeah, you're welcome to unmute or you can put your questions in the chat. Alexa's keeping an eye on that as well.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have the capability of downloading files that include the graphics. Is that correct?
The images, yeah.
The
Yes.
images is
hmm
are there certain software programs that are best to use? I noticed that you mentioned Duxbury. Would that be one of them?
Are you talking about for creating tactile graphics?
Yes, like math related, like if you're downloading a math textbook and you wanted some of those graphics to be included, would Duxbury be a good software program to use?
So Duxbury is great for Braille. It's a good question. We're actually hoping to offer some more trainings on tactile graphic production in particular. I think Corel Draw is generally considered to be the most popular and best tool for creating tactile graphics, but there are definitely other tools. For the most part, the images in NIMAS files are going to be JPEGs or PNG images that you can open in pretty much any tool that you might use to create graphics. There shouldn't be any real issue with that. Um, but it is a good question, and we are hoping to offer some more support on that because that's not something that we've provided really any guidance on in the past. So thanks for asking.
That'd be wonderful. And if wanting to do that, what format would you use? Would you do the Max ML, the embossed Max ML, or would you do a different format?
That's a good question. So, the if you download the full file that includes the MathML tagging in it, you will also get all of the images at the same time. So, MathML tagging can be great for equations in particular that will quickly and nicely and cleanly convert into Braille. But then you'll also have those images, those math images that will be present in the NIMAS file set itself. Particularly I'm thinking about with geometry, you'll have lots of images of shapes and that kind of thing. So you'll get all of that if you do the full download.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Shannon Pruitt. Uh, from North Carolina. I have this is a very specific question, so I apologize to everybody. But since just having got my account reset back up and everything, and I'm just here to refresh myself and everything, I assume Crystal is my authorized user.
Yes.
Okay. She's been out on like a medical leave, so I guess my question is there someone else I can contact if she's not available?
That's a great question. Yeah, that is state specific for your workflow. I know that there's at least one other authorized user in North Carolina. We'll get to you offline on that. But
Okay.
thank you for bringing that up because there is no list of authorized users in your AMP account. So if you aren't already working with that person or the people in your state, we'll connect you with them. So just reach out to us. But we'll get with you, Shannon, on that.
Okay. And she may be back today. I can't remember the date, but I know she's been out dealing with some family health stuff. So
Yeah, no problem.
okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
This is Hannah at Bookshare. I just wanted to say thank you both
Hi.
so much. You guys are so helpful, and it's always really great to know that like if I can't find something, I can message you guys and be like, or add it to the watch list, and just really appreciate all the hard work you guys do.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. The watch list, I think kind of remember, so back, I started in 2015 at APH and working in Louis. And even then, I think publisher websites were a little bit more helpful than they are now in terms of like being searchable and having information about their materials. And now it can be next to impossible to find information online about an ISBN. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're happy to do the digging for you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. Um,
Yeah.
so when you don't need a book anymore, like it's on your watch list, is it okay just to delete it, or do we have to inform someone?
Um, that's a good question. You can remove it, but it would be really helpful if you sent us an email just so that we know that you're not tracking it anymore. If we've already requested it from the publisher, it's likely that they'll submit it anyway, but it would be very helpful to notify us about that for sure.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, good
Yes.
question. Any others? I think we have a few more minutes if anyone has anything else. All right. Well, if that's it, I'll go ahead and ask Alexa to put that exit survey link in the chat one more time. If you could just take a moment to fill that out for us, we really appreciate it. It helps us make sure that our trainings are meeting your needs. And if you ever have suggestions for additional training, like the stuff about tactile graphics, that was super helpful. We love that. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much for your time. This will be posted and available on our website within a week or so, once we have our captions ready. So thanks again and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all.